21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
When I was growing up, my father gave me a book called Longitude. And in Longitude, it was the key to the expansion in the 1700s, which created global expansion. Now, that in itself was the one thing that allowed safe passage from continents. Navigation is all about how do you know where the pitfalls are and how to know where you're starting from and where to go to. And in business, navigation has been pre-1700s when it comes to business mapping. So what I've created is a business map that is akin to the Google Maps of traveling from A to B in a three-dimensional world to take the frustration and stress out of growth. For the last 25 plus years, I've been fascinated with mapping and fascinated with the business growth journey. Actually, it's more than that. So I started my first entrepreneurial journey at the age of 8 when I started selling coffee to people sitting in petrol queues in the 1970s. That was my first business failure because the petrol strike finished and then all of a sudden all my demands left. So ever since then, I've been fascinated with business and I've been fascinated with mapping. So for the last 25 years, I've been mapping what does it take to take a business from startup all the way through to scale. And through that process, I've worked out that the entrepreneurial journey is not what we think it is. It's not a logical journey. It's an emotional journey and it's a spiritual journey. And when people connect into spirit and when they connect into emotion, they find the compass that they need to guide them on their way. When I talk about spiritual journey, it's not necessarily spiritual. It's more the fact that we're here to be of service. And what we're here to do is to give to other people, to show them and give goods and services that actually have meaning in their lives. Through this process, I've been able to help businesses grow, scale, sell for hundreds of millions of dollars. I've been helping smaller businesses create the lifestyle they want and everything in between. The key thing around this is when we're of service and we know how to actually do what it is that we want to do, we get everything that we want in our lives. The key thing for me is always following your passions, doing it for yourself first, and then showing others how to do it for themselves. Emotions are our compass. And so there's also mathematics that is also our compass and our structures. So if we look at the emotional journey first, and then I'll do the numbers side of things, because what we've done is we've mapped how and what every business needs to do from startup through to 4 people, to 10 people, to 20 people, to 30 people. Now, at each stage, emotions always come into play. Now, emotions are a guide to what we need to work on next. So, for instance, anxiety is right the way through society at the moment. and anxiety is a fear of future. So when we feel anxious in business, it means that we need to look at what are we anxious about in the future so that we can take action today to not be anxious about the future. And so I'll share some structural things in a moment. Stress, for instance, is a direct correlation to the fact that we're time poor, and we need to look at our structures inside of our business to remove the stress so that therefore we can operate in a calm level. Frustration, if we're frustrated with ourselves or with anyone else, is usually a direct correlation that there's a capability gap. There's either a capability gap in ourselves or a capability gap in one of our staff or one of our people that we're working with. So when we learn how to navigate the emotions within ourselves, we can then work out what we need to work on to actually release the emotion. Now, the emotions only last for 90 seconds unless it's perpetuated. So unless it just keeps going and we replaying the story. So if we're continually frustrated, it means we haven't dealt with the issue. If we're continually stressed, we haven't dealt with the issue. If we're continually anxious, it means we haven't dealt with the issue. But what the emotions tell us is there's something that we need to work on. Now, the emotions are not good or bad. It's just that the emotion is telling us whether we're on track or off track. Now, when we're on track, we're feeling calm and flow, and things show up for us of what we're looking to create. When we're frustrated or stressed, it means we're actually off the pathway. So by listening to ourselves and listening to our emotions, we can then use that as a guide on what things to work on and in what order. So what I've done is I've looked at the mind and the emotions as well as the guidance and looking at how we're here to be of purpose, right? So in that, what I've done is I've created a book that looks at every aspect of every size of business so that they're able to navigate every element. And there's a formula that goes behind it. Now, the formula is how you design a business from the outset to then how do you put the strategy and business model in place to how do you put the structures in place to get a business going in absolutely the direction you want to take it. Now, through the mapping system, you're able to know exactly where you are on it. You can see exactly what it is that you need to work on and in what order, so that therefore you can get into calm and flow and get out of stress, frustration, and anxiety. In business, most businesses go in and they find a product and they then go and sell that product into the marketplace to make profit. And through that process, they're looking to always create more profits and more products. Now, the key here is to go up to working out, well, what is your purpose? What's your brand actually stand for? Now, when businesses go from sales-led and product-led, they take anywhere between 20, 30, and sometimes lots longer to grow to any size of scale. When we start with purpose and we start with the umbrella of the higher context of what it means and what we're wanting to do and what our passions are and what our purpose is, then what we can do is create an umbrella brand that then designs all the products that fit underneath it, which then means it opens up all of the channels and routes to market. And then the sales activity becomes almost effortless because we're being our authentic selves. When we're being authentic and we know what we want and we're passionate about it, it becomes a magnet for people to want to know more. And so therefore the whole sales process is actually flipped on its head. We don't have to sell, people want to buy. For example, one of my clients, and I've worked with literally thousands of clients across the globe, and one of my clients recently, they're a leading software and app developer in the world. Actually, they're the #1 app developer in the world. And this business is located in Australia, but they're obviously global in 280 countries. And when they started, it was a husband and wife team. And all they wanted to do was actually create apps and software for other people to be able to enjoy what it is that they wanted to create. So they went in there and said, well, how do we actually create something that we want? Because there's nothing in the market that we want to play with. And as a result of that, they then went and actually created and started creating the app that they wanted. As a result, all of a sudden, there was a whole lot of people that went, oh, that's really cool. I'd like that app. Now, through the process, they then got lots of demand and lots of people coming on. And through that process, they grew their business to an extraordinary size. Now, through the process, though, there are points when they get to structural sizes where the business gets so big that they don't know how to manage it anymore. And the frustration and stress and disillusionment sneaks into the business because the business is no longer what they thought it or hoped it would be. So what it's all about is if they know that there's a map there that can actually take them from A to B, it means they can work on their passions and then know that the structures and the strategies and the implementation of bringing people on to help them support their vision and their brand message will then open it up even more, which is what's happened. When I work with businesses, especially fast growth businesses, there's a massive mistake, or it's something that happens that they don't understand happens. Now, what happens is when people are purpose and passion led, they attract a whole lot of people that want to be part of the journey with them. Now, if they're not prudent with who they bring in, and especially fast growth businesses, if they're not careful with what energy they invite into their business, they can invite corporate or they can invite profit-led energy into their business. Now, most successful businesses are purpose-led. They want to make a difference. But then as soon as a profit-led person or someone comes into the business, not understanding the purpose of the business, they can accidentally derail it. They don't necessarily intentionally do it, but what happens is drama can be created, and what I call the corporatization model, they can actually then start to stagnate and plateau because they've brought in energy that's not necessarily aligned to the purpose. Now, when this happens, it's no one's fault. Right, it's just a natural thing of growth, especially in fast growth where we need bodies to come in and do jobs and tasks and all that sort of stuff. But what happens is if everyone's not aligned to the brand vision and they're not aligned to the business model and the culture, which is the key component, then what can happen is upset and drama, which then pauses the business's growth. Now, when this happens, what we do is we need to connect the business back to its original vision of passion and purpose. And then the business can then form the business model and structures behind that. When the money starts coming in, we can start focusing on the money and forget about the passion and the purpose. And the other thing around it is we can then, the ego can start taking over a little bit, and we start making it about ourselves. As soon as we start making it about ourselves, then the passion and the drive can start to dim. The most successful businesses and the most successful people in the world that I've seen and experienced remain passionate and remain true to their purpose. When they remain true to that and they listen to their inner self. Now, this is where it comes back to the emotion and it comes back to spirit. So when things are working, we want to continue to work in flow and calm on purpose with passion. Now, if we start to feel like either anxious or we start to feel frustrated or stressed, it means that we've actually now gone beyond where our capability is now to manage it. Now, when that happens, that's when people will bring in a CEO or they'll bring in a general manager because they've reached the level of their capability for the size of business. Now, Steve Jobs did this, and he famously talks about the fact that he brought in a senior level manager that was the wrong hire. Now, what he did is he then went external because he got kicked out of his own business and then learnt the capability himself on how to lead his business and not outsource it to someone else that doesn't have the necessary passion and drive that he had. And if you listen to his interviews, he talks about the fact that he needed to do that in order to go then back into Apple to create the mega giant that it is today. But the thing is, all entrepreneurs need to go through it. But my guidance to them is don't go out here, learn the capability, learn how to do it, learn how to lead through culture and capability. So you don't actually have to have that drama come into your business to have an expensive learning in most cases. For the last 25 years, what I've been doing is I've made a lot of mistakes. I affectionately say that I've made 627 mistakes. But what I do is I've also had the privilege to work with so many businesses in every sector, of every size. And there's a commonality with them all. And so what I've done is I've documented and put into the Ptolemy map all of the stories of lifestyle businesses, people that are looking to create the wonderful life and keep it to a small business. And I go, all power to you. I've shown businesses how, and I've documented inside the book how you grow a business, say from 4 people to 12 people to 20 people plus. And there's actually a process and things you need to pre-build in order to not fall into what I call a spin cycle. So you can go through the spin and then spring into action so that you can create the dream and create the life you want to live. I've also taken businesses into the hundreds of millions, and those businesses have created generational wealth. It doesn't matter what journey you want to take. The process is the process, and it starts with getting connected to what it is you're passionate about and being in service of others by creating what it is that you want and then go giving it to the world. Then putting the right structures in place so that you can grow effortlessly. But the most important thing is to listen to the emotion. And so what I've done inside the book is being able to look at the emotional side of things, look at the spiritual side, That's not necessarily woo-woo, but I'm a little bit woo-woo myself. But it's more around how do we connect to be more guided on our journey, and then also the mathematics and the structures that you put in place to support it so that you can live your best life. Anyone that's interested, they can go to Ptolemy.com and they can go to the book tab, and in there they can have a look at the summary of the book. But there's also a resources page there where people will be able to go onto to download. And there's also going to, it's not yet, but it will be here in late 2025 with a whole lot of videos, YouTube, explaining how this all works.
21st Century Entrepreneurship with Martin Piskarik.
Imagine a space where triumphs, trials, and tales of entrepreneurship come alive. Welcome to the 21st Century Entrepreneurship Podcast, a gold awarded journey hosted by Martin Piskarik, connecting with listeners in 95 countries and ranking in the top 0.5% of all podcasts. Join our exclusive community, elevate your perspective, and embark on the path to success.